And Sonia, good morning. Benson, nice to see you. How you doing, buddy? It's Monday. It is Monday. Good to see you here, Benson. It's Monday. What a heck of a day to start the week, right? I mean, Monday's that kind of day. Like even after Tuesday, the calendar says WTF, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. How you doing, man? I hope you had a good weekend. Nice to see you here. We're going to do a little stock show here this morning. It's Monday. Hopefully you had a relaxing weekend. I know I did. I did get to talk to my boss this weekend. He said, do you mind working this weekend? And he asked me what time I'd be there. I said Monday. How about that? Had a bit of an exciting weekend this weekend, if you know what I mean. I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Let me know what you got up to yourself this weekend. A little bit of drama at the local game night. We had somebody come in and spoil the event. That was, it was really exciting. Have you ever seen this? What's your latest rage quit that you've ever seen in Magic the Gathering? Well, take this and multiply it by 1,000, then times it by 10, and then exponentiate it by another 300%. And that's what we had to deal with here on the weekend. So we're looking for a new venue. We had somebody passerby stop in on the street, off the street, saw that a bunch of people were sitting, a bunch of nerds were sitting down playing games and having fun, being social. And then this person came in off the street and started making a big old scene in the local cafe where we like to play our Magic the Gathering games. Got so loud and obnoxious and unruly and calling people names and grandstanding and screaming that we had to ask the person to leave. And when they decided that they didn't want to leave, they grabbed the door and slammed it a couple of times until it broke the door off the hinges. And then that was it for game night. We all got asked to leave. So if you ever been to an event, now this has, I know it's not play related, just like a passerby that ruined the event for everybody. But have you ever been at an event where somebody gets so tilted over a game of Magic cards, like they do a table flip, they do the yelling and screaming, maybe they feel like they got the brunt end of an exchange, and then they just freak out? Have you ever tilted another player or seen another player get tilted right there live and in person? It's quite exciting. What do you do when this happens to you? Because inevitably, no matter where we've been in the world of Magic the Gathering, there's sometimes the salt, right? The saltiness that can happen in the game. Some people can't handle their salt. And it's just not good for everybody. Doesn't bode a good environment. So my mission yesterday was to try and find a new location to play, something that has a little bit, and I think we may have found it for the time being. We're going to discuss it this evening at Cards, if I can get there. So Little Benson is putting my sleep through the ringer. Nothing French press coffee can't solve. Just horrible that happened. Just call the cops and let that idiot pay the legal fees and make them the loser. We did. Yes, we did have to call the popo, the poli, and they picked him up. Loud and unruly and obnoxious. Can't just have a civil game of magic cards. But you know what you can have? If it's 5 a.m. where you are, sleepyhead, get out of bed. I know there are things that need to be said. There are articles that need to be read, and there is toast, eggs, steak, bacon, and bread for you here on the morning show. Welcome, all you beautiful and amazing subscribers, fans of the game who love the game as much as we do. I appreciate you for tuning in here on the morning Magic the Gathering talk show, stock show, and we're going to talk a little bit about Magic the Gathering here this morning. I'm going to pull up some news articles for you folks here today. Should be a interesting. I'm just going to ease into the week here on this Monday. That's right. All right, before we get started, let's just warm up here this morning. I like warming up with these AI generated magic cards. I really do. The AI is learning at an incredible rate. I did go off on a guy who infantilized me, robbing me of 1 to 2 life a turn. I count for a living. Don't need you to do that for me or do it wrong at that. Infantilized me. Yeah, I try and keep it together, right? Keep it together, keep it together, keep it together. Well, let's go over the rules for these AI generated magic cards. If you're just joining us here, it's the Monday show. We're going to take a look at some of these AI magic cards over at Robo Rosewater site. And let's go over the rules for anybody listening at home. If the card is playable any way whatsoever, even if it's a little bit overcosted, if it's functionally a magic card, if it makes sense, got a casting cost, it's got text on it, it's got a creature type, power and toughness, passes the sniff test, we're gonna have to take a short break. Give me a second. Give me a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, folks. I heard some clanging and banging around. It's almost like St. Nicholas downstairs trying to get under the Christmas tree. But everything's okay. Heard some clashing. I awoke. I roused downstairs to see what the matter. I heard some clatter. Oh, Monday. What do you do? All right, let's have a look. Where were we? Ah, yes. The AI generated magic card. So if the card is playable any way whatsoever, even if it's a little overcosted, if it's got accurate text on it, we're going to give it a pass. We'll rate the card, and you'll hear this sound, the sound of the dinger. But if the card is got any gibberish on it whatsoever. If it's just a bunch of mumbly jumbly gobbledygook, doesn't pass the sniff test. Casting cost, card type, whatever. Rose such a clatter. What's the matter? Next to the coffee pot, something fell down. So I heard something fall down next to the coffee pot. A couple of thumps. I heard a bump, and I had to go check it out. All right. This sound is the sound of the buzzer. In case you didn't know, that means that the card is no good whatsoever. Give it the old failer Rooney, right? All right, let's see what we got here this morning. Ghost Troll. I like it. Maybe it's too soon to tell. Let's take a look at this Ogre Fish 3-1. 1 white and 4 for the Ghost Troll. Whenever Ghost Troll deals damage, its controller gains control of Ghost Troll. Its controller gains control of Ghost Troll. I think that's kind of irrelevant. If it said its owner gets a hold of Ghost Troll, I think that would be okay, just in case somebody took it from you, right? It's neither ogre nor it's Ghost Troll is either ogre fish. Checks out. Denied? I think let's deny it. Let's get it out of here. It would be better if it said its owner gets control of Ghost Troll, because its controller already has control of it. So there's like no upside to, like, of course the controller gains control of it. It's also a 3-1 for 5 mana. It's really bad. All right. Well, let's see here. Fair, underpowered, non-functional text. Let's go with a non-functional text. A lot of people say it's just underpowered, but the non-functional text, it doesn't actually like work the way I think we're supposed to want it to work. All right, maybe my bad. Maybe I should have given it the underpowered. Maybe I should have passed it, but it's too late. That ship has sailed, Brody. There's no way that this is going back. Magus of Wisdom. How is this a Magus card? Magus of the Wisdom can. Magus of Wisdom can. It just can, you know? Oh, gosh. Like the Magus series. You got like Magus of the Wheel, Magus of the Tabernacula. By far my favorite Magus. You got Magus of the Moon. What else? Magus of the Will. It can get denied, right? This doesn't have the Magus ability on it. It almost looks like a Niv Mizzet. A Tyrannid Mutant, 3/5, 7 mana, and a Orzorius, a white, blue, and 7 for a 3/5. Doesn't even have flying. Oh, this card is so bad. I think it's terrible. Who? Okay, but like Magus of the Will can. This guy's just got a positive attitude. That's all he's running on. Okay, let's fail it. Let's get it out of here. We want better. Magus of the Will can. I think we can fail it just based on that alone. Let's fail it based on that alone. Just because it can. Oh yeah, Magus of the Will can. Well, Brody Alfonso can too. We can fail you. We can also look at this card. Each Amonagot, each Amonagot about that. Cost you 1 red. Destroy target walk. Oh, God, this is painful. Destroy target walk. I mean, at least target wall would have been okay. Instant speed. It looks like there's a boardwalk there. Each Amonagot. It's got flashback too for a green. And 2. You may cast this card from your graveyard, then exile it for its flashback cost. Each Amonagot. You can't. Jeez. Okay, we're not doing so well here this morning. It's like a real tough start over the Robo Rosewater. Let's give us something that we can actually. Let's go non-functional. Ça ne fonctionne pas. Maybe this one. Triple black and one for the Hall of Natil. The Hall of Natalie's? Hall of Natalie's? Hall of Natil, legendary artifact, 3 black and 1. When Hall of Natil enters the battlefield, search your library for up to X permanent cards. Reveal them, put them into your hand. So where do we get the X from? So far no good. X and tap it. Draw a card. Then search your library for a creature card with mana value 2 or less. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. X and draw a card. Like the X, they're not getting the X factor here on Magic cards. We don't pay X when we cast it. So how are we going to search our library for X permanent cards? And then the X and tap and draw X, I guess, could be 0 on the other ability. Search your library for a creature card with 2 or less and put it on the battlefield for. So, oh, geez. This is just going down, down, down. Okay. 0 for 4 here this morning. That's too bad. Let's get it out of here. How do you evaluate junk text? Some people say it's OP. Well, yeah. If you don't understand the fact that you got to pay X somewhere when you cast it. I like this, though. I can see where this is going. This looks good. Saw Blade of Protection Black. It's like the Circle of Protection. But this is Saw Blade of Protection Black. Legendary creature, human wizard. He's got a saw for an arm. OMG. And a big old staff. This is just hilarious looking card. Wow. 5/4? Cost you a blue, a white, a black, and 2. Coach, good morning, Alfonso. Nice to see you, Coach. Thanks for dropping by. What do you think? Is this what you're running? The Saw Blade of Protection Black? This is what we need to keep those disruptive people out of the game store, right? You just whip out the Saw Blade of Protection. Legendary creature, human wizard. Each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has flying. Whenever you sacrifice a creature, you may return Saw Blade of Protection Black from your graveyard to your hand. That checks out. Each other creature you control with a 1/1 counter gets flying. Fine. Whenever you sack a creature, you may return the Saw Blade of Protection Black from your graveyard to your hand. Fine, fine, fine. I was just telling the viewers that we had a little bit of a disruption at our game night on Saturday night. Somebody got so tilted they ripped the door right off the building. Wasn't a player, was just a passerby. This thing's fair. All right, we'll give it a fair. And then another card, a waste, a land card. What's the most spicy table flip you've ever seen? Saltiest Magic the Gathering experience you have ever had? I think this waste is just fine. Let's pass this. We're not doing so bad. What are we, like 2 for 5 out of this? 2 for 6 out of this batch of AI generated Magic cards, waste included? Seems okay. All right. I was trying to convince a couple of people to watch the morning show over the weekend. The first thing, the one guy said, the things I don't like is probably you, cold coffee, small talk, Mondays, and having small talk with you on a Monday while my coffee's getting cold. But if you can deal with cold coffee, small talk Mondays, and a little bit of discussion, a little AI generated magic, you too can enjoy the stream. All right. What do you call a person who is happy on a Monday? Unemployed. Let's go. Broken Hunter. What do we have here? 1 black and 3 for 0/0 with flash. Human Serpent. Looks like a guy sleeping under the tree. He's got his rifle there. Some snakes kicking around him. It's got flash though. You may cast this spell anytime you can cast it in an instant. When Broken Hunter enters the battlefield, create 4/1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature tokens. This seems okay, except he's just gonna die because he's a 0/0. So unless we have something that'll buff his butt so he doesn't die as soon as he enters the battlefield, all you're gonna get is these mirror tokens. All right, let's pass it. Could be worse, right? Except the Broken Hunter just dies when he comes into play. It's got flash though. Decent card. Fair? Fine. And the Savage Grandmother. Ugh. What is a land card? Oh my god. Savage Grandmother is a land. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may untap target creature. Creatures you control gain pro blue until end of turn. Put a Savage Grandmother on top of its owner's library. Savage! Got no color in its mana. At the beginning of it's a land that costs 3. I think we got to fail it. Yeah, I know, right, Coach? We can't have a land that costs 3 to cast. That makes absolutely no sense. So we're failing. Let's pitch it. It's all fun and games until Monday rolls around, and then you have to put your pants back on. All right. Let's take a look. We got some articles here. Thanks for folks for tuning in. Coach is here. Benson's here. Little Benson, if you're tuning in, it's nice to have you with us here this morning. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Is there enough information out there, or is there just too much gall darn information to keep up with? It should be an interesting week here. I'm just excited to see what transpires in the world of Magic the Gathering. Let's take a look at a news article here this morning. It's the weekly winners from last week coming to you from Arjun over at the stock desk. Another article for you folks to discuss the cards that had the biggest uptrend in price over the past week of Magic the Gathering. I wonder what's on that list. So I can always tell you. Bet you that cursed totem's going to be on. Look for that during the week to see if I can start putting another commander deck together. How many commander decks do you have? Well, I guess there's never too many. There's never too much of a good thing, is there? Let's take a look at this article here for you folks. Coming from Arjun, this is the weekly winners. These are your weekly winners. Let's make the screen big as it can be. All right. Like every week, we're going to discuss the winningest cards in the game here as far as finance go. We're going to keep our eye on some stuff. And just so you know, Brody's been buying up singles of Echoing Deeps and Spelunking. I want to see if that card hits anybody's radar here. I posted it in the Patreon. And for you folks tuning in at home, let's take a look at Mirex. This is a card that's been making headlines. I've seen people like MTG Original Decks playing it. I believe this is a land card sphere. It's up to $49. What's this from the Pavo set? Yes, Mirix is $50. Did I clickbait you yet? Yeah, it's time for some nuance because you and I both know that Mirix is not worth that high of a price tag. All right, let's take a look. What's the land do for anybody who doesn't know? Is this $50? Tapped. Yeah, it jumped a lot. Morning, what's cracking in? How you doing? Cracking in games. Tabs for a color list, and then tap add 1 mana of any color. Activate this and Mirix enter the battlefield this turn. So it's a sphere. It's a land. That when it comes into play, you get whatever color you want out of it. It's okay if it's an okay turn 1 play if you can use the colored mana. Other than that, if it sits there on turn, if it's your turn 1 land drop, kind of feels bad, eh? It does fix your mana for a turn, so that's okay. What else do we got? We got this 3 and tap it to create a 1/1 colorless Pyrexian Might artifact creature token with toxic 1, and this creature can't block. Good to see you too, buddy. Okay, so that's the land. $49. Maris is $50. This seems like clickbait, but let's discuss it. And you and I both know that this seems like a really high price tag. And upon inspection, there is a promo pack Pabo set that shot up in the last week, and the regular and extended version of the card are only a little below $10. We can't deny that they have a clear uptrend as well. Merrick's is a utility land that generates waste. But the turn it's played, it can make any color. It can make gold mana if you want. The power of this land mainly lies in its last ability to make the 1/1 Pyrexian Might token with Toxic 1. The tokens can't block, but this land can consistently make a creature every turn, especially in decks that like to keep their mana open anyway. Like control decks, which tend to be more reactive than proactive, Mirix provides a mana sink in case there's nothing interesting enough to react to. Since you don't have anything better to do, you might as well make a token that needs to be dealt with. When we go to the cards page, we see that the decks section, that there's quite a few decks using the card, and it's currently played in standard, mostly prominent. But it also sees play in Pioneer, occasionally modern, since we're in the middle of standard regional qualifying championships, RCQ season. It appears that people are trying to get their hands on copies to be able to compete in these events. It sees play in a couple copies in the popular decks like Selesnya Toxic and Azorius Soldiers. Mirix. Well, I would say maybe now's the time to buy list this. Eh? $40? Can you get $40 for it? It's up 470%. Combine that with Ogertak of the Mondrak. Oof. Isn't that a mouthful? Knick knack paddywhack Ogertak of the Mondrak. Coming in hot with a Mirix $50 land paw. Creature of the Schism. Oh, God. Oh, it's up 200. This schism is up 269%. And thank you for you 3.6% viewers who tune into the stock show in the morning. This is some good schism, right? Like, I don't know, am I a Gen Xer or what? Am I showing my age? Yeah, that's some good schism. We used to say it. 1 black and 2 for this 2/4 Vampire Cleric. Too bad it's not just a Vampire Clerk, right? Death Touch. It's got the bad touch too, right? Whenever Preacher of the Schism attacks, the player with the most life or tied for the most life, create a 1/1 white vampire token with lifelink. Whenever the Preacher of the Schism attacks while you have the most life or tied for the most life, you draw a card and you lose a life. $5? $5.91. Okay, this thing's been taking a poke up. Yeah, look at the chart. Look at the chart on this hose hound. This is some popular schism. To stay within the same ballpark as our previous winner, we also have the Preacher of the Schism moving quickly. When this year started, this was nothing more than a bulk rare. Now it's moving up towards around $10 for the 2/4 Death Touch. It's already an annoying creature to deal with. With 4 toughness, it's relatively hard to answer because it doesn't die to bolt. All right. Hard to deal with in combat and with burn spells, and can even stonewall larger creatures, but the Schism doesn't want to stay back as a blocker. It wants to attack. When it attacks, you may get 1/1 lifelinker so that you get to draw a card for the mere cost of 1 life. Decent card. Rakdos. Yeah, the Rakdos scam deck. Rakdos seems to be very strong these days. I wouldn't be surprised if Badlands actually took a poke up in price. Maybe. I know there was that standard, and maybe one has nothing to do with the other. But I mean, if we're getting better cards in standard, you can't help but think that some of them are going to make their way into other formats. Another card that I notice is making a lot of waves. People are having fun building with it. It's the Agatha's Storm Cauldron, Agatha's Cauldron, the Cauldron. People are doing all kinds of shenanigans with the Cauldron, like they're putting Walking Ballista's ability on like sharks and all kinds of stuff that draw cards, and it's almost been getting to like people are trying to break Agatha's Cauldron. Interactions. What's your favorite interaction with the cauldron? Calling all cars. Let's see here. Crimson Acolyte. What's this set for? What do we got here? Nemesis? Yeah, it is. Pro red for the Crimson Acolyte. The 1/1. Got a 1 white and 1 for a 1/1. Cleric. It's their second cleric, isn't it? Target creature gains pro red until end of turn. Well, let's look at this chart here. Was just a penny stock. Now it's $3. This is the winner of the week because the format we don't actually talk about, well, is Pauper. That's right. Crimson Acolyte went up a pretty penny because it's seeing quite a bit of play in the format all of a sudden. It's a common from Invasion. It's a 1/1 with protection from red. It can go give another creature the same protection. And to remind yourself of what protection from a certain quality does, always think about the mnemonic acronym DET. The permanent or player cannot be damaged, enchanted, or equipped, blocked, or targeted by cards with that particular quality. Damaged, enchanted, blocked, or targeted. Can't do it. All right, the current deck to beat in Pauper is Mono Red Kuldotha, named after Kuldotha Rebirth. The deck has a lot of firepower and tries to go wide with Kuldotha and get damage in, along with cards like Goblin Bushwhacker, Goblin Blast Runner. A lot of decks in the meta that play white are starting playing play sets of Crimson Acolyte in their sideboard as a way to stonewall decks and to protect their creatures from burn. Crimson Acolyte is quite an old card, being printed in 2000 and has never received a reprint since. It makes it relatively easy to drive the price up since the supply is low and compared to recent sets. In a similar way, we also see Obsidian Acolyte played in the same kind of decks as an answer to black cards. It's not going up at the same rate, but there's definitely movement there. And the same can be said about Standard Bearer. That is also part of the sideboarding package. What's this one? This is the bigger one? No, this is the Obsidian Acolyte. Oh. So we got the Crimson Acolyte and the Obsidian Acolyte. The Bearer. Standard Bearer. If an opponent plays a spell or ability that could target Flag Bearer, that player chooses at least one Flag Bearer as a target. Okay. Interesting. Pauper card. All right. Cheap pickups here. What do we got? Den of the Bugbear. The land. $4. $4.75 moving up in price. This land is this the one that makes it's a man land, right? Okay, if you control two or more other lands, if you control two or more other lands, Den of the Bugbear enters the battlefield tap. Taps for a red, and then you got to pay a red and 3 until end of turn. The Bugbear Den gets 3/2 red goblin creature type, and when it attacks, you get a 1/1 goblin that's tapped and attacking, and it's still a land. The Den. Okay. Den of the Bugbear has been identified as a penny stock pickup by the folks over at the stock desk. This featured card that's reached its bottom and is starting a consistent uptrend, as well as Virtue of Knowledge, coming in at about $5 for this blue card. What do we got to say here? What's this one do anyway? What do we get? An enchantment card with an adventure on it. Virtue of Knowledge, you got a blue and 4. Vantress Vision. For 1 and a blue, copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. And then for the big money, 1 blue and 4, you get if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, it triggers an additional time. Whoa. Okay. Well, that's all right. It's like a doubler. This will double your triggers. Seems good to me, right? Repercussion. Here's an enchantment card that seems to be moving up in price, only a couple of bucks, but been identified as a cheap pickup. A mythic enchant that's 2 red and 1. Whenever a creature is dealt damage Repercussion deals that much damage to that creature's controller. Repercussion. Whenever a creature is dealt damage, repercussion. Okay, so if you touch my, yeah. How are we going to use this thing, right? I guess if you're going up against a creature deck and you play a card like Earthquake or something that does X damage, or even like, how about this? What if you run Fire Covenant, something like that, and you pay a bunch of life, and then you ping all the things at the table, and then your opponent loses that much life too because his stuff took damage. Repercussions. It's gonna repress the schism, right? All right. Thanks, Arjun, for another article here this morning. Appreciate you for bringing us some Magic the Gathering news and discussion here this morning. The weekly winners from last week, the Mirix card. Can you believe that? $50? It seems unheard of. Seems a little too much, right? I don't know. That checks out. It's Monday. We love Mondays, right? That's the sound. It's cover your movers and the shakers here. Monday morning, rolling out of bed is easy. Getting up off the floor is another story. Somehow the floor can be even more comfier than bed. Oh, this. All right. Let's do your movers and the shakers here this morning. Modern Monday. Let's take a look at what's moving and shaking here on the streets of Magic the Gathering. Let's take a look here. Okay, so why did Selena Gomez dump the weekend on a Monday? Because she wished the weekend was longer. Oh, okay. Let's take a look. These are your movers and the shakers here. Minamo School at Water's Edge. I gotta take a look at this card here. This is from Kamigawa. I have today off for Martin Luther King Day. Oh, cool. Nice. I have a dream. I'll tell you that. What an amazing individual. MLK. Well, this stream is dedicated to Martin Luther King. And all those folks observing the holiday today, thank you for tuning in and spending a little bit of time with me. Let's take a minute to thank that fella for all his contributions to American society. I like the fact that we observe these individuals who have done great things. It's kind of sad when you see folks who are currently alive that move away from Canada and the US because they've just had enough here. A lot of folks are taking off to Dubai. That's a place where there's no income tax. And so that's a reason for leaving. Interestingly enough. Minamo School at Water's Edge is legendary land. I was trying to play this in turns. Sometimes they play one of these. And then the Obero Palace in the Clouds as well. This one untaps a legendary permanent. So what are we targeting with it? It's a legendary land. It taps for a blue. So it's just about an island. You pay one and tap it to untap target legendary permanent. So you can untap your Caracas. You can untap your Emery. You can untap a bunch of stuff. I love Days Off too, right? Azorius Control playing it. Modern. 5-color Omnath, Merfolk, Dimir Control, Yes Guy Control, Lara Croft, the Tomb Raider. Another neat commander card. Urza Lord High and Grixis all playing it. Let's take a look at the chart on this. Been moving up east to west. I want to try and just scroll this back. I know this was popular in turns. This thing hasn't seen a reprint. Probably won't in a while. yeah, look at the trend on this thing. This thing's strong. This is a strong Magic card. Until this thing sees a reprint, it's probably going to just stay on this trajectory. Taking a couple of nice trends, price trend ticks up in trending price. Little nice swoop, nice even rolling hills, country roads. Take me home to the place I want to go. West Virginia, school at Water's Edge. Take me home. Let's take a look at the foil version. I think this is probably going to. Was this reprinted? It was. Okay, Tales of Middle Earth. Well, I want to look at the foil version. This one, this would be like something so great if you had opened it in Kamigawa and we're sitting on it. $127. That's a card. That's a house. A house of a card.
Buy low, sell high, that's my motto. I may just quit my job at the power plant and become a full-time stock market guy.
All right, this card's $127 for the foil version. Nice to identify some of these foil premium cards earlier than later. Just like the Gemstone Caverns. And this is the other thing, too. This is why this Echoing Deeps card, I mean, I'm going to keep saying it and going deep on the Echoing Deeps. It's a land. The lands can slot in so many decks, regardless of format. And even the colorless lands seem good, but this one makes blue, so it's especially good. Lands are definitely tend to be good over time, just like artifacts, right? Look, speaking of artifacts, here's Blighty Boy. Oh, yes, the Blightsteel. What's this? The original one from Mirrodin Besiege. Blighty Boy is back to $42. Makes sense. Foils were super rare back then. Mirrodin Besiege. Got plenty of versions of the Blighty Boy, including the list, but the foil version and the Mirrodin version, the original one, I traded away my Blighty Boy. I regretted it. I did. And Blighty Boy is good. He goes in Oath of Druids. He's played in Legacy, our Vintage. He's played in a lot of formats. Definitely got decks using him. But then I finally reopened a Blighty Boy in Double Masters. Look at that. I felt so bad. It was like a throw in a trade that I was trying to make, right? This is the other thing. Never get desperate when you're trading because, like, you make bad decisions and then you throw in your Blightsteel Colossus as trade fodder, as trade bait. And then he goes to 80 or $100. He just crashed recently and he's finally seeing a little bit of support here. Blighty Boy be back in the Blighty Boy and Oath of Druids needs to win an RCQ or something. Then he'll be back in people's hearts. But until then, what do we got? Zul'Adok, the Void Gorger. Satoru Mizawa, Coslick the Great Distortion. Speaking of leaking, Cosleak, the Great Distortion. Akram Dagson, Urza Lord High, all commander decks playing him, but I happen to know that he is played in Vintage in the Oath of Druids deck. Pretty decent. You got to put Expedite on him and make him swing the turn he comes into play. You got to turn one the Blighty if you can do it, right? You got to turn one the Blightsteel and swing for lethal because he's got Infect. He also, one time, I'll tell you why I'm so fond of the Blightsteel. I had a really fun game interaction with somebody who was playing Grixis Reanimator. And their reanimate target was Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. It's the one, the 15/15 with Annihilator 6. Well, I took, how did it go? I was playing Big Red and I got this guy out. And like, Big Blight goes in all formats. He does. And then like they had to leave the Emrakul back as a blocker because I was like swinging with Blightsteel. And then it puts -1/-1 counters on it. So they were left with a 4/4 Emrakul. It was like, this is the world. That's what they said. Like, this is the world we're living in. I have to play my 15/15 Emrakul back and to block this Blightsteel. If not, I'm gonna die to it. I was like, yeah, I can take 15 damage and sack 6 permanents because I'm just going to sack some lands and some junky artifacts. But like, this thing's going to get you. Blighted Boy's going to get you. So they left the Emrakul back as a blocker. Then I swung with the Blightsteel, turned it into a 4/4. And then, like, next time, then it's got trampled too, right? Made it a lot easier to deal with. I don't even know if I won that game, but it was such a funny interaction to see Blightsteel square off against Emrakul and get the better of the exchange. Gemstone Caverns, here's another card that just keeps going up in price. Oh, I bought just non-foil of these for around $27. I was looking back at my price history, my purchase history. Yes, I bought a couple of copies of this around the $27 mark. I was humming and on whether or not I wanted to buy it, so I went and got the non-foil version. Could have spent the extra $20 and got the foil at the time. Maybe 100. I don't remember the price point, but this card here, Gemstone Caverns, definitely a card that's seen play in Commander, and it's definitely seeing some price action because it it goes in greedy decks that try and steal the play. The greed is real with the Gemstone Caverns. I used to play it in Modern, especially in the turn stack, because if you lost it, I was a day when I wasn't very good at dice rolling. I lost a lot of dice roll. Sometimes you just got to be you're better to be lucky than good, I say. You can't get lucky on the dice roll. There's always Gemstone Caverns. The Crashing Footfalls, yes, Modern's playing it. Hardened Scales. Most of these decks here are Modern decks. We got the one Commander deck there, which is Crom, Leduvix Opus, and the Timna the Weaver playing the Gemstone Caverns. Another card that I picked up with around the same time was the Gemstone Mine. Good land. See, this is what I mean about the echoing deeps, right? Like, it... Oh, the Time Spiral foil. Let's look at this chart. This is like what really drives me insane because I remember buying this card, non-foil, $27, and this thing just keeps going up in price. Let's see the chart on it. Started back here in and around 2021, 22 was hit, it spiked, right? This has got to be an outlier, but $150 for the foil. It's now up to $375 for the Time Spiral version. This card is going to keep going. And regardless, this is the neat thing about it. Regardless of reprints, the original foil is still going to command a fairly hefty price tag. How long would you hold on to this until it just gets too hot to hold on to? What is the other foil versions worth? I'm wondering. Tales of Middle Earth, yes. The Time Spiral foil, the remastered foil is a hundo. So there's definitely some good hits in the Time Spiral remastered and the Time Spiral, the Gemstone Caverns. Seeing some price action here. The One Ring, $72. Don't have it. Need it. Want it. Love it. Plays goes in a lot of decks. Still got to get myself a copy of the One Ring. Indestructible Legendary Artifact. We know what it does. Gives you protection if you cast it this turn. What is the other? There's some discussion going around. Some people hate this version. Where is it? Where's the extended special one? There's not really been a lot of talk about the serialized One Ring. I wonder what they say this one's worth. The serialized One Ring. The serialized one of One Ring. There's no price on it. I guess we'll see when that gets sold again, if it ever gets sold. Probably never going to get sold. I'm looking for this one here. This is the one that people hate because they can't read it, right? But you should know what the One Ring does. This is odd art. What do you think of this art on the One Ring? Is this for you? I actually don't mind it. I think it's pretty cool. Does it look like a Magic card? No. Does it have nifty art on it? Yes. What's that one? That one's $420. $420 for this one. $420.69 for the One Ring. That's a lot. I won't be getting that one. I am going to go with the cheapest version of the One Ring that money can buy. trade in value. 72 bucks. That's probably the one I'm going to get. What's this card? A Chroma's Memorial from Future Sight. I wonder what the rare is worth. 7 mana. Mana, 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 mana. Times for all remastered foil. 30 bucks. This one's 27. The cheapest one from Future Sight. Oh, yeah. This is a legendary artifact. Creatures you control have flying, first strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection from black, and protection from red. This seems really good. Where are we playing this? Commander. It's definitely not modern. Yeah, modern. It's Modern Monday, but like, is it really? When most of these modern cards are played more in Commander. Yeah, who wouldn't want to give all your creatures that ability, right? 7 mana, I guess you could hard cast it, but you may be able to just cheat this thing into play. Let's take a look at the chart on it. Chroma's Memorial. Steady, solid card. 36 bucks. Yeah, okay, not bad, not bad. It had a spike up in price heading back to the Kaldheim set. That's a big arrow, bro. Total down. Easy, boy. All right. Went just about to 40 bucks back in the Kaldheim set. Oh, a One Ring comes inside the Lord of the Ring bundles and gift bundles. I do have an extra copy. Well, maybe I'll have to get a gift bundle. Speaking of bundle, we better bundle up. It's cold outside. We got minus 38 over the weekend. Man, there's just no getting used to that, is there? Trucks don't start, things break down, pipes freeze, and the sword of fire and ice. Definitely one of the best swords. I would say some people say this is the Sword of War and Peace is the better one, but this one seems really good. One seems like the best one because you could put it on like the Mirren Crusader. But 3 mana, 2 to equip it. Equipped creature gets 2/2 and has pro red and pro blue. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get to deal 2 damage and draw a card. The card draw is really good. I'm running this in the Rograk deck. For the Judge Foil promo, this is the Judge Foil. It's worth 121 bucks. The Double Masters version, of course, and then of course, the ever. Where's the Dog's Phalanx? This one. This is the one. That's from Kaladesh. The Invention. That's the most expensive one, isn't it? 142 bucks, yeah. With arguably terrible art on it. It looks a little bit rough, if you ask me. So Sword of Fire Knife, also seeing a trickle up in price. Damnation. Here's a Black Wrath. This is the Black Wrath of God. It is. Destroy all creatures, can't be regenerated. 2 black and 2. I think Black was just so happy to get this when it was printed. Planar Chaos. Other versions. Yes, Time Spiral been remastered. Mastered and mastered again. Look at this one. Player rewards. That's a heck of an art. Borderless Damnation. Damn. Happy Martin Luther King Day, folks. Taking the day off. Enjoy yourself. And Engineered Explosives. Yes, sideboard card costs X. This can also be cost for 0. So in a deck where your historic spells do good stuff, you can get this out on the battlefield for 0. If you want those triggers from casting non-creature spells, Sunburst. So you got to pay mana into it. Comes into play with a charge counter for each color mana used to play it. Sack Engineered Explosive. Destroy each non-land permanent with CMC equal to the number of charge counters on it. Let's take a look. This is the OG. Oh, wow. This thing was $100. Look at the softening in price on this card. Wow. It definitely had seen better days. Look at this. Just a big old arrow, Brody. Calm down. Get your small pen out, bro. All right, we're up to $20 here back in 2015. around. Has it been that long? Kaladesh? Yeah, I guess 2016 is when Kaladesh was printed. Oh God, it's just time. Where does the time go, right? And then like this nice swooping down in price here, almost like no one cares about this card. Taking another tick up in price when it's finally seen some price action. It was as high as $100. That seems really difficult to believe, but the engineered explosive was a great sideboard tech. I guess there's just better options now, and it sort of fell from grace. Never really did see a return to that $100 level, and I don't think we're gonna. I used to run it. Now I'm trying to find other ways to run it, like in a main board with cards like Chalice of the Void that you can play on 0, as well as the NG on 0, and anything giving you a 0 trigger. The last March of the Ents. What do we get for 8 mana? A sorcery that can't be countered. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control, then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Whoa. This is a decent, big bomber. This is a big bomber. Can't be countered. Mythic rare. What's this worth? Why is it worth $16? Just because big green stuff wants to play it? Big dumb green stuff? Dino Nuggets, maybe? Where are we playing it? Yes, Dino Nuggies and Dragon Nuggies. You got the Gisha Sons, Avatar, the Dragon, Aragorn, the Uniter, and Arcades, the Strategist. Dragons and Dinos run this. Gonna ramp out some big stuff. Marwyn the Nurturer, of course. Elves, yeah, I guess that would make sense. You can get lots of mana off those little guys. And Henzi the Toolbox Torre. Kind of sold out in stores. Good in Lathril. I could see it. I also see Muxus on the list. Oh yeah, dinos, right? There's some darn big dinos out there. Interesting. So those are your movers and the shakers for Monday here, January 15. It's halfway through January, right? Finally. What's the most depressing sound on a Monday? The alarm clock. Yeah. Dear Monday, Mama doesn't like you and she likes everyone. Rose are red, Mondays are hard. I'm not good at poetry. Coffee. Let's go. What else can we do here this morning? Got one more article to go. Let's do that. Let's do one more article. And we're going to cut to the chase. We go kick Monday in the face. What do we got here? These internal Magic the Gathering cards need to be legal in Modern. Let's check this out here. World of Magic the Gathering. Every constructed format has its own unique feel. All right, give me that unique feel here this morning. At a rotating format that utilizes minimum number of sets, Standard is constantly in flux with regards to the overall metagame. Pioneer provides players with a chance to play non-rotating format, but once that only feature sets were previously legal in Standard, Modern opens the door to extremely powerful sets like Modern Horizons 2 and Lord of the Rings, Tales of Middle-earth, and a slew of elite cards. Legacy takes this idea even further, allowing players to use any cards through MTG's history minus a handful of banned cards. Well, primarily the Power 9 banned cards, and of course, all in all, each format has different identity that helps maintain their uniqueness. With that being said, this doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities to take cards from older formats and reprint them into what makes them legal in formats with smaller card pools. For example, Imperial Recruiter was reprinted in Modern Horizons 2. Tell me about it. Lost a lot of money on my Imperial Recruiter that I had to buy from a silly set. That was a Portal 3 Kingdom set. And then we got, I did have a Judge foil that also took a bath when that was reprinted. But Modern Horizons 3 is coming up rather quickly, and this is the perfect chance to get some highly sought after cards to make their way into Modern. Recently, Reddit posts sparking some discussion about what neat inclusions from the set might be. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the cards with the highest potential to make their way into Modern. as well as some that could theoretically help and address certain issues the format is currently facing as a whole. Aura Mutation. The Selesnya card? Destroy target enchantment with instant speed. You get X green sapling creature tokens, where X is the enchantment's mana value. Decent card. Yeah, Selesnya tends to do that. Initial thoughts on Aura Mutilation, as well as the Artifact Mutation, where these cards are simply too efficient. For the effect that they provide at 2 mana and answered opposing permanent is pretty reasonable. But the added bonus of developing your board and potentially a significant way of making creatures was way too much. There's a few factors that might ultimately make these cards reasonable to reprint. First of all, these cards are pretty restricted in what they can target. Aura Mutation simply aren't that many enchantments that regularly see play. In cases, you'll be removing something like the Urza's Saga or Sigarda's Aid and netting a couple saplings process. The competition is extremely high for artifact enchantment hate. I mean, Force of Vigor, yes. Leyline Binding, another card is good. Is the 3 mana can't be countered Abrupt Decay. That also gets rid of 3 mana permanents or less. And we can go deeper with the 5-color Zoo decks that would run an artifact mutation in conjunction with Scion of Draco. Artifacts. No. Scion of Draco. Oh, well, a way of making 12 saplings. Okay, while still being able to answer opposing artifacts when necessary. As such, it seems a relatively cool addition to the format that aren't overwhelmingly broken by any stretch. Cabal Therapy. Here's a card that's played in Legacy in the Nick Fit deck. This is a card that it's really psychological. This card's hard to play because you have to know the format you're playing it in. You usually play this with a Veteran Explorer, especially in Legacy, where if it goes to the bin, you get to go get land. But you name an on-land card. Target player reveals his or her hand and discards all the cards with that name, and then you get to flash this back. So this is a devastating card. It can get multiple copies out of your opponent's hand. You've got the sack a creature flashback ability, again with a Veteran Explorer that lets you go get land, ramp you up. But since the printing of the Cabal Therapist was complete flop, I was excited about the Cabal Therapist. I really was. I thought it was going to be better. But alas, there's at least some potential for the therapy to make its way into modern. On the surface, therapy is an interesting and rather skill-intensive card, just like I said. Being able to nab cards away from the opponent's hand twice, thanks to flashback, it is incredibly powerful, and the drawback of having to name the card ahead of time means that you may end up whiffing completely the first time you cast it. You do need to know what you're up against. As such, Cabal Therapy is certainly a cool card. There's things that get awkward, though, when this card is used unfairly. For instance, Grave-centric decks can end up with a Thoughtseize Tooltips effect that they can regularly cast for 0 mana by milling over Cabal Therapy with Stitcher's Supplier. Or dredge cards like Cinqueed Imp. Now you have access to powerful effect at very little cost. Not to mention, given that these styles of decks typically run recursive threats like Prize Amalgam or Vegevine Narcomoeba, which comes into play for free, sacrificing a creature to the Cabal Therapy is rather trivial in this sense, and adding it to the format may not be the best idea, even if it seems interesting at first glance. Price of Progress? This is a devastating card. I've lost games to this. Deals damage to each player equal to twice the number of non-basic lands that you control. This thing punishes for having non-basic, twice the number. Well, even in Modern, if a game goes long, if you have a lot of non-basics in a burn deck, this can just straight out finish you off. Price of Progress is interesting because it would likely be super controversial. A legacy card that's sometimes used as a sideboard card to punish slower decks with greedy mana bases. Sometimes casting a single copy of Price of Progress can deal 10 damage or more, which is a huge swing in the game, but not every deck can play it. Similarly, if you go out of your way to accommodate the card within your mana base, then it can end up being quite strong. The hope is that the card adds another way to punish players for freely fetching triumphs and shocks at will, much like Blood Moon. I don't think Price of Progress would ultimately have a beneficial effect in the format, but dealing 2 damage per non-basic land is an incredibly rate of return. Burn decks having access to a card that can just win the game single-handedly can be a bit concerning, such that the price of progress think should be avoided when adding to cards in Modern. What about this? Helping tribal creature decks. Broadside Bombardiers. Here's a card I actually played. 2/2 Menace Haste, Boast, sacrifice another creature artifact. Broadside Bombardment deals damage equal to 2, plus the sacrifice permanent's mana value to any target. Going broadside. There's broadside, there's dockside, inside, stockside here on the channel. Types of cards we personally want to see added to Modern. Since the banning of Fury, non-combo decks that try to go wide with creatures have almost fallen to the wayside. Merfolk's gotten a bit more popular with tribal decks like humans and goblins, mostly non-existent over the course of the past few years. In this sense, these strategies say that it can need a little bit more elite speciality. I need a Blightsteel. And reactive spells. Okay, blah, blah, blah. What else we got? The persistent petitioner. The persistent one. Well, thanks for being persistent this morning here and joining me on this show. It's been a good one. That's my time. I do have to get on going. Everyone's got their favorite villain. Monday is mine. So let's get out there and do some killing of that villain and shine a light on the world to see. I wish you all peace, love, and happiness in the community, prosperity, and all the benefits that the new year can bring you. Thanks for you guys watching. Pushing that 350 subscriber count. Let's see if we can make it. This is your host, Brody Alfonso. We're doing a little morning Magic the Gathering stock show and talk show. Here it's Monday. You going to Modern this morning? All right, if Monday were shoes, they'd be Crocs. If every day is a gift, I want to know where I can return the Mondays for store credit, and I'll exchange it for a Saturday. How about that? I appreciate you guys watching. Benson, Coach, Kraken in Games, anybody else who tunes in on the channel, hit the like button, subscribe. It lets me know that you guys are watching, helps the channel grow, and keeps on pushing us up that algorithm. Have a good one. Stay warm out there. Happy Martin Luther King Day and everything else. That's it.